Hello everyone, welcome back. My name's X, and we're back with another video today. Today I'm going to just do an off-topic one, just something because I want to take a little break from all the other controversy videos I did, but those still going to be coming out. But I wanted to talk about this because I've been seeing the whole Steam versus Epic Games and this whole battle going on, and it's quite interesting that I finally end up leaving console gaming, and now all of a sudden the PC launchers are now becoming the consoles with this exclusivity nonsense. And I decided to give my 2 cents on it because I've been seeing a lot of fanboys when it comes to the Epic Games Store, and it's kind of funny just the illegitimate thinking that's been going on, and why actually, if you think about it in long terms about Epic Game Launcher, there's not a whole lot of positivity when it comes to it, and I'll go into that. First major thing I'm going to point out here is that exclusivity thing. Now, people are saying, well, other launchers do exclusivity. Yeah, but usually it's their own games. That's kind of their thing. But the fact of the matter is that Epic Games is going out of their way to buy out all the competition, while at the same time saying that they're being competitive. How is it being competitive if you buy the competition? Just like what It's a Gundam said, it's like having a race and then giving the opponent a 30-minute head start. It's not really actually comparable. And don't give me that gimmick thing that I love so many fanboys keep pointing out on Epic Games to go, well, Metro made a whole bunch of money that they compared and said they made more money than they did on Steam. And they were comparing a game that sold like almost half a decade ago? Maybe even more. I don't even remember the date because I don't really play those games. But the fact of the matter is they were comparing 2 different games sold on 2 different platforms at 2 different times. That's a marketing gimmick. You can't compare that unless you compare 2 different games the same game sold at the same exact time on 2 different platforms. Unless you've done that, you can't actually compare the 2 and say which one sold more. That's, something just really dumb. I don't know why people even try to argue that as an actual comparison. You can't, because that's not fair to compare a market that was then versus a market that was now. In fact, I'll go into that later. Let me stick with this. I was going to go and talk about the then and now, but the exclusivity thing. So many AAA companies are going to abuse the hell out of that system. Basically, Epic Games is using all that money that they had and are just blowing it on, rather than developing the important stuff for the launcher. Instead, they're blowing it on things that don't even matter. First off, they bought an entire forest with that money that they got from Fortnite, and now they're giving away money for these AAA companies to bring their games exclusively onto their platform for 1 year. And the problem with that is that that's basically, they're just giving these game companies a boatload of money to try and get them to be exclusive for 1 year. And the problem with that actually in line goes against Epic Games in the long run, because what happens is, what it's telling these AAA companies is, at first they're selling these games that probably did have a lot of quality and time of work put into them, but then it's telling them, wait, so I can pump out a really bad game, no one can write reviews of it because it's an opt-in review system, so I can make a really bad game, just pump it out as quick as I can, and get exclusivity deals with Epic Games. There's going to be some companies that are going to try to abuse that. I've noticed that a lot of these companies now are starting to make sure they're trying to release their game in 2019. They're pushing for it. And actually, that's, I think, the reason why Epic Games announced that they're not going to be running that exclusivity forever, because the truth is that there's going to be people that are going to abuse that. Definitely AAA companies are going to see that as a big opportunity to get a ton of money and not put a lot of effort into their game. And they know that no one's going to be able to write a bad review, so they can, get a lot of money and take advantage of the system. So in the long run, it's not a well thought out idea. In fact, the only thing the exclusivity did was just to make them noticeable. That's pretty much about it. It didn't have any other positive effects that it did at all. And so you got all these people that go, oh, it's just a free launcher. It's just a free launcher. You can download it. It's not going to, be a big deal. I don't want 50 different launchers. I already did a video on that about how many stupid launchers there are. There's just a million of them. And the problem is that people argue like, oh, well, why is it now a problem? All these other companies did launchers of their own exclusivities of their own games, and no one had a problem then. you were talking about a market that was very small. The fact that there was 3 launchers back then versus now everyone wants a launcher now. The problem is it's becoming oversaturated, which is where the big problem of the Epic game launcher is coming from, is they're putting a launcher out in an oversaturated market. Take away the exclusivity that they're eventually going to get rid of, and maybe the few features are eventually going to add in, and then factor in, why would I purchase this game over the others? You have all these people that say, oh, you got to support the small developers. You have to support the small developers. If you don't support them, you're not a gamer. You're not a true gamer if you don't support them. Like this whole elitist BS thing. The fact of the matter is that if you actually think about it, it's not actually going to be that positive about for the indies as well. Everyone says, oh, they really care about the indies, but the fact of the matter is the indie developers are not actually going to get the same treatment as Steam. Steam has, obviously this controversial issue of allowing anything goes kind of mentality, which unfortunately has led to things like asset flip games, which are basically just a bunch of asset arts that people bought, threw it in, and called it a game, and it's just nothing. It's just literally, if I opened up my Unreal Engine and just threw a bunch of stuff in there and then packed it all and called it a game from just reused assets, and that's basically all it is. It's no effort at all, and then people end up abusing this. They make fake IPs or fake companies, and then they close shop and reopen it somewhere else. There's that problem. Then there's people that try to make games that are intentionally trying to instigate that whole game. I'm not even going to say the name of it just because I'm probably going to get censored if I do, but the fact of the matter is it caused so much damn controversy over it because of some of the content that it was in it, and people were saying, why is this allowed and whatnot. But it was because Steam wants to have this thing of not trying to censor, because the fact that if you try to do that, then it's going to just start leading to other games not having opportunities, which is kind of interesting, by the way. That game, the name definitely should have picked a better name for it, but I think they did it intentionally for getting attention. And the only reason why they even got attention was the journalists. Game journalism, what a joke, were the ones that gave it attention. Otherwise, if it had been released, no one would have even known it existed. It would have been pointless. But the fact is, there's games that actually have that kind of content in it that are AAA games, and no one ever loses their, shit about it. But the fact of the matter that they're trying to say that this will, that Epic Games has come out and said that they're not going to ever allow garbage games on their launcher. Well, how are they exactly going to do that? And the way that they're more likely going to do that, they haven't said it, but it's obvious how it's going to happen, is I use the Unreal Engine, which is by Epic Games, and there's people that put their own content up there and they sell it. But you can't just throw any content up there. In order for your content to get up there, it has to go through approval process. So someone has to actually sit there and approve stuff, and it has to go through an actual inspection. It has to meet all these standards before it can even be released, which sounds great and all, but if you've ever seen this store and how its sizes, it's not going to be even close to Steam at all. It's not going to have that large size. So when it comes to Epic Games, how they're going to try and limit their games, they're going to probably have some sort of checklist of what everything has to be approved of. Oh, this is too buggy, we're not going to allow it in, which sounds great. But here's the funny part, which is why I think that Epic Games Launcher is not going to give indie developers the same fairness and the same treatment as AAA games. AAA games, it's going to be like going to a club or a bar or whatnot. You got a bouncer outside who's saying who can get in and who can't. You have all the indie developers in line, and they all have to meet this inspection. They have to get approved. Versus you have AAA developer, he can be complete garbage. He has like a buggy ass game. It could be freaking Fallout 76 for all I know. And they can just be like, oh, go right ahead. Even though that game is extremely buggy, they'll let him right on through and not have to go through an inspection process. They won't say, hey, I know that you're a AAA developer and all, but you're going to have to actually improve your game so it's not a complete bug fest mess of a game that no one wants to play this because it's so buggy. No, they're not. They're going to let them right on through. But yet, if it's a small-time developer that put a lot of effort in, tried to kink out every bug and everything, they're still going to get them on like, okay, it looks like there's a some loading issues you have here. You're going to need to fix these before we can allow it on the Epic Games Store. So actually, in reality, I don't think that they're going to give the same fair treatment for indie developers. So all these people saying, oh, it's to support the indie developers. No, I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be doing that at all, because of the fact that it's going to be, they're giving all this exclusivity and everything. You think they're giving exclusivities to indie developers? No, they don't even have the money for that. They're going to run out of that Fortnite dollar pretty soon. It's just, they're like, oh, Fortnite dollars, we have so much money, but like every game, it's eventually going to die out after time. Even Halo 3, an amazing game, after a certain amount of time, the population itself died out. I mean, it got brought back by having, backwards compatibility, then putting on the Halo MCC, and now it's going to become the PC. And, they've done as much as they can at this point of trying to keep it alive. But again, all games do fade out in time. So Fortnite's going to eventually run out. That money that they're getting from is going to fade out. So it's not going to last forever. And that brings out to another factor here. Financially, it's just, if you think about it, there's no way that they can afford to do everything that they're doing. They're trying to make these really great deals, which really do help the developer, but the fact of the matter is even if it helps the developer, it doesn't actually, even if it financially helps them, it's not a whole lot of money that Epic Games is going to be making. They can support all these different things they're going to do. They can't still make games while running a launcher, while having people that go through approval processes for asset stores and for game launches and so forth. They just can't keep doing this. Even if they eventually end the exclusivity, they're eventually going to end up becoming Steam, where they're going to end up not making games anymore. They're going to end up letting go of that department and only have people working on, keeping their launcher up to date. That's where it's going to end up coming to. I mean, they keep giving special deals like, oh, if you launch your game on, Steam, or not Steam, Epic Games Store, you're going to only have, you get this much revenue back, you get like the 20% and whatnot. But unfortunately, even if you are making that extra money, it's not going to be able to, for Epic Games to be able to keep affording to go that, style. So what's going to end up happening is you're going to see a slowdown of what's going to, in about maybe, even though the exclusivity is going to end in about a year, probably about 3 years, you're going to start seeing that it's not going to be that great of a platform. It's just going to be another generic platform in an oversaturated launcher market. And that brings out the most important part here. Why would anyone want to buy from Epic Games Store? That's the thing. They keep, every time I try to bring up this debate, all the indie developers that are so blinded by all this potential of more money are not really thinking about this through. So, for example, they keep thinking, oh, we just pump games out and people buy them. They shouldn't be allowed to judge and all this nonsense. And every time I keep bringing about this, that how the market works, it's not just about, oh, I'm a car dealership, I make cars, people buy it. That's the end of story. It's why should that customer buy from you? If you just, say, oh, I'm going to entirely launch my game from the Epic Games Store and I'm going to make a ton of money, and if I don't, then gamers are the blame and everything, you're just going to be a failed business straight off the bat. You cannot just blame your customer and then say that that's the reason. They're going to look at this when they're playing on PCs and say, why should I download another launcher? Why should I waste my time with it? If it has absolutely nothing to offer compared to Steam, which is a gigantic company when it comes to the launchers, and it has so much more to offer, so much more features, so much more content, where you have this other launcher that all it has to really offer people is, or at least the developers, more money to be made. I mean, they say, oh, we'll give you one free game a year. I'm sorry, I have Xbox Live Gold. I know exactly what the free game stuff is. It's usually just mediocre games that aren't games that we really care about to play, that I wouldn't even play myself. If I might even bother to download it, I may play it one time, that's the end of it. I get bored and then uninstall it. It's not really going to really keep me there. So that's just not even going to help. So when you are as a customer, which again, this is how the customer market works. Sorry, this isn't the communist thing of, oh, you take it, we make it, you take it, that's the end of it. You don't get any say in it. I'm sorry, I know that some of you developers think that's going to be how it works, that you just make a game and you just make money. You got to understand who your customer is. And if they're sitting there and they go, why should I buy from the Epic Games Store when Steam has so much more to offer? there's nothing there. And then any smart developer is going to know that too. That's why they're going to launch on both. That's why a lot of companies said that that's how it's going to work, is they're going to just launch on both. Because in the end, it doesn't matter if you're making more money from a percentage. If your overall sales are not coming from that launcher and it's coming from a different launcher, you're not making anything from that launcher pretty much. I tried to give this example of people just choose to not listen, and they just want to just believe that, oh, no, you're going to make the same amount of money. And I keep trying to compare this. I go, so what happens if, say, small scale wise, you make an indie game and you sell 1,000 copies on Steam, but you only sell 100 copies on the Epic Game Launcher? You get 20%, so that means you only have to spend 20% or whatever to Epic Game Store, so you keep you keep that 80%. So say your game is only worth $1. If just, again, small scale, just to make it so people can understand this and visualize it. So that's $80 versus the Steam, like 30%. So that means that you get $700. So which is better, $700 or $80? Which one are you going to pick? They go, no, you got to compare. It's got to be 1,000 versus 1,000. No. You got to remember the customer. If he doesn't see a reason to go to the Epic Game Store, he's not going to buy from there. And there's, even though they can't, give out the real numbers, I'm pretty sure there's a couple games on the Epic Games Store that are just not meeting numbers in sales. But again, the companies right now don't really care because they're still getting money. They're making up those customer losses by the exclusivity money they got. But the fact of the matter is if there's, at the end, when they remove that, what is there left to offer? So unless, Epic Games Store actually tries to outdo Steam with all their different features and have something more to offer, because right now all they have to offer is to the developers. That's all they have. They have nothing to offer to the customer that's buying from it. So if they have no reason to buy from Epic Games Store, they're not even going to bother with it. And they go, oh, well, all you guys have it anyways because you have Fortnite. I don't. Many others don't, so why would we bother? You think everyone's a 9-year-old that plays on PC. I'm sorry, I hate to break this to you, but that's not how it works. Steam actually did a lot of, good back in the day. I know that now it's not as great as it used to be, but, if it weren't for Steam, PC gaming would have probably been really just pretty much nothing at this point. Because let's go back, 10-year challenge. Let's go back to 2009 and see what the PC market was like. It was not that great, to be honest. In fact, some of the games actually went exclusively to console. Let's talk about Epic Games, for example. Back in the day, they made Gears of War. In Gears of War 2, they did not even bother to put it on the PC at all. And this wasn't because Microsoft bought them out. This is going to be a fun thing I'm going to do with the history about Gears of War on PC. But the reason why they left PC was for two main reasons: piracy and cheating. There was so much hacking and so much people stealing the game on the PC back in the day, trying to go through the regular way of, how they did PC games, that it was basically they weren't making any money from it. And they just decided to exclusively make the game on console because it was just they weren't seeing any money being made out of it. Cliffy B openly admitted that this is the reason why they left. That was just not their thing. They just weren't making the money, and they rather just stick with Microsoft and at least have it on console where they knew that they were going to guaranteed get money because everyone has to go through that. There's no way to kind of steal games from it. And so when people try to say, oh yeah, no, it's all perfect when it's on PC back in the day, it wasn't. A lot of people just they left. They did not want to do it on PC because there was so much piracy issues. But then Steam indirectly made it so that no one wanted to pirate games as much because you didn't get all those nice features. You didn't have an entire friends list, and you didn't have a review system. You stole the game. So basically, in a way, you didn't get all those cool features if you pirated the game. So by doing so, it was actually encouraging people to actually buy the game because they got more stuff out of it. So in fact, when all these people, because some of the people try to even tell me that Steam didn't help minimize piracy, bullshit, it definitely did. The fact of the matter that people even think that that's not true, it just tells how blind they are about how the PC market was. The PC market was just dwindling 10 years ago. And now all of a sudden it's growing. More people leave that and are leaving the consoles behind. The consoles have very few things left in them. I did a video about why I'm leaving Xbox Live and going over to, well, not Xbox Live necessarily, but leaving the Xbox platform entirely, because I can play for free on my Xbox Live account without having to pay $60 a year to play on Windows 10. A lot of people like go, no, you can't. You have to pay that $60. I explained to them, but unfortunately, fanboys, they just choose to not listen. You can point them out the page that shows like you don't have to pay. You can have a silver account and play on Windows 10. You don't have to actually pay money for this. And people are like, no, you have to pay for it. You have to. It's just so funny when they lose their shit over that. But yeah, and so people are completely surprised when I tell them this. They just don't want to believe that was a thing that the PC market was pretty bad back then. Now versus today, it's a lot better, but unfortunately it's becoming oversaturated with launchers that no one gives a shit about. Seriously, there's just some launchers that literally just the only reason why they're made is just because they want to get the full $100 from, or not the $100, but the full 100% money from that sale. But the funny part is that when they say that launchers don't minimize piracy, and I go, really? Then why are they bothering with the launchers? Why don't they just sell the game like how they used to do 10 years ago without the launchers on PC? Because then all of a sudden they go, oh wait, actually never mind. But then you have all the fanboys that say, well, now all of a sudden the consoles have no meaning to them. I explained why there's still meaning to consoles. Like for example, I'm just never gonna buy from Origins. Origins has a terrible reputation of losing your games on Origins and then going, oh, we lost it. Oh, that's unfortunate. Well, you know what you can do? You can make another account and you can buy all of our games again. They literally do not give a crap if they lose your games. So to me, I'll never be buying from them. That's a waste of money. You could waste like $3,000, or I forgot how much that guy spent on buying games on Origins and lost it all. And basically, I forgot how he eventually got it back. He found out someone hacked his account and changed the name and the password and email address and everything, but he was able to locate through a friends list and whatnot. But EA had absolutely no backbone. They just were like, no, really, we can't do anything for you. That, to me, that's terrible business, and that's why I never would buy a game from them. So if I'm ever going to buy a game that is like, say, Star Wars related, I'd rather buy it on Xbox, because there's just no way I am paying to buy from a company that I could lose my stuff from, and they won't put any effort to help find it. That just shows how bad of a company they are. And that's, again, the problem with all these launchers is they're trying to compete with Steam, but without giving out all the other stuff. The funny part is too, like Origins and a couple of the other ones, when they came out with all their content too. They came out with all the different features and so forth. They didn't come out with every feature that Steam had, but they came out with a bunch of features. Epic Games, instead of investing that money to have all that stuff completed and working, they just wanted to launch it while it was all hyped up at a good moment when they had all this money from Fortnite, so that they can start already making a launcher. They are coming out complete bare bones with absolutely nothing really to offer, and again, an opt-in review system. And I know they go, oh, because it's the counter the review bombing, which, yes, it does suck that when people review bomb games that completely have no relations to the game, that has no relations to the game that's being being affected. But the review bombing isn't a new thing. It's just game journalists, the biggest joke of all, are just hyping up saying, oh my god, the rampant review bombing. It's like, no, this was pretty common even back in the day when people did dumb stuff. But the fact of the matter is it's become more prevalent. But the fact of the matter is review bombing is just it's just a little bit of an excuse in a way. It's like it only really does affect indie devs more than it actually affects AAA games. The only way AAA games get affected by this is if they really do produce a bad game. I mean, let's take Bethesda and its Bethesda launcher with Fallout. They literally, I don't know how anyone can still defend them on this. They made their own launcher and sold the game. How they even already sold it on sale, and now it's on Steam now. but their game could not even they knew it was a complete bug fest game, and they knew that people were going to ask for their money back, so they intentionally sold their own launcher and then say, oh, our policy is we don't do we don't give refunds back when people are asking for refunds. And then, obviously there's no review system, so that way no one could write anything bad about, hey, don't buy this, they won't give you your money back, and it's completely buggy. That's a fair review. And unfortunately there's some people out there say, no, you can only review on the assets that were in the game. Do they look really nice? If they look nice, then you have to say it's a good game. No, it's not. If the game's buggier than hell and they're not going to give you your money back, put that in a review, because that means that no one's going to want to buy a game that they're going to not get their money back from. But unfortunately, there's some people in the industry that think that you should only judge them based on things that like very minimal things, like, okay, you can't judge them on the game's buggy, because if they fix all the bugs, then what else is wrong with the game? Oh, there's nothing else, so it's just buggy stuff. It happens in modern day gaming, so you can't really review them on that. It's just some of the dumbest arguments I hear from some developers. Always have excuses. And then, this is one of the situations where I'm agreeing with the gamers on. Yes, I do agree that sometimes the review bombing is kind of unnecessary, like review bombing Metro, reviewing their other games, giving them bad reviews was just because they couldn't review the actual game, that people were trying to buy it on Steam and then they pulled it out like 2 weeks before launch, which, wow, that was pretty insane. But yeah, it's pretty dumb that this stuff happens. But again, to kind of wrap it up here, because we're at 25 minutes, I want to just end it off here. Epic Games really needs to have something more to offer. It's in an oversaturated market with almost nothing to offer the customer. All these people go, oh, well, no, it's about the developer. No. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if you know how the actual market works, but it's plain simple. People try to sit here going, no, I'm a developer, I know how it all works. No, you don't. If no one buys your game from Epic Games Store and you go exclusively Epic Games Store, and there's no reason after a year when they remove the exclusivity stuff and all they have is their launcher compared to Steam's launcher, and no one has an actual reason to use it other than the fanboys that go, oh, I'm doing it to help support the small indie devs, and that's it. I don't play that fanboy stuff. I get that some people do want to help out and whatnot, but some of these people seem to act more like they're Pepsi versus Coke. Oh yeah, Coke is better. I'm a Coke fanboy. It's so stupid. That kind of stuff there's not a whole abundance of them. You don't have people that go, oh, I don't get involved with the Star Wars stuff, Star Wars controversy stuff. I have to support Disney for making Star Wars. And it's just, dude, don't be a shill, okay? Being a shill is not gonna sell a game. It never works. It never works at selling games, selling movies, selling TV shows. It doesn't work being a shill. If it's not good content, it's not good content, and no one's gonna buy from it. So if Epic Game Stores does not have anything left to offer, it's trying to compete with Steam while trying to be a game producer still, while trying to run a engine, while trying to maintain an engine, while trying to maintain a launcher, while trying to do review processes. You think they financially have the ability to do all that? No. Things are going to start getting minimized more and not, be as big after a while. And if they don't have anything to offer other than the developers that they're offering, then they have nothing left. And don't try and say this is some person who wants who's a Steam fanboy. No, in fact, a lot of people actually were looking forward to Epic Games Store. People were actually excited about Epic Games Store when it first was announced, because they thought that it was going to bring some real competition. Knowing that it was in an oversaturated market, it has to bring something new to the table. So the fact that they're not bringing anything new after exclusivity is gone, there's nothing new for the customer. That basically means that there's no reason to go to the Epic Game Store. There has to actually be an actual reason to buy from the Epic Game Store. If there is no reason at all to buy from it, no one's going to do that. No one is openly trying to be like, oh, I hate Epic Game Store just for being Epic Game Store. No, there's actual legitimate reasons why people are against it. If you don't want to listen to it, that's your fault. They've given their reasons so many times of why they do not want to buy from the Epic Game Store. It's pointless to buy another launcher, another waste of space on my hard drive if there's no reason to buy from it that I can get it from Steam. There's no reason at all. Unless you give something more to me of why I should do that, there's nothing at all all. I don't know how many times I can reiterate that. There has to be a reason why I would buy from Epic Games over Steam. And I'm probably even gonna just have the Epic Game launchers on my PC because I already have the Unreal Engine. But I'm probably won't even buy from it. I'm probably going to be buying from Steam in the end. But the fact of the matter is you have to give the customer a reason to buy. I can make a game on Epic Game Store, or make a game on the the Unreal launcher onto the Epic Game Store. But if there's no reason to buy from it, there's no reason to put it on there. And all these developers know that, and that's why they're going to sell on both, because they're going to want to be safe and they want to get every little penny they can get. So they're going to sell from both stores regardless. So all these people that are totally sold on the idea of, oh no, it's going to be fine, the Epic Game Store is going to win in the end. It's not. It's just it has no ability to go against a giant like Steam if it has nothing left to offer except for the exclusivities. That was it. And again, they're giving a good cut to the developers, but again, if they don't start giving anything to the developers, what do they have? They have a store that is literally telling that's not literally telling, but that basically is not going to have as many indie games on it, because the fact that it's going to go through a hell of an approval process to get your games on there. So it's going to be a slow little dripping in games. It's not going to be something that's going to be massive for indie developers. The AAA companies, they'll put it on there, but they'll also put it on Steam as well. So the fact of the matter is that what is there left to do? If Steam is bringing in it still has more the reason to play it. It has more features. It has more accessibility to more games. So at the end of the day, what does Epic Games have for the customer to want to buy? That's the main takeaway from this out of all of it, is why would the gamer buy from Epic Game Store and not from Steam? If you don't have a reason to do that, there's no reason. And also that little side thing about Tencent with that spyware stuff, really, really Epic, cut that out. I don't know why all these American companies are supporting Chinese companies, and who all are openly working for the Communist Party. They obviously they don't say it openly, but it's basically what they say. It's just communism and Chinese characteristics. All they're doing is they're just promoting companies that help censor. I mean, Microsoft even openly has got exposed for supporting the whole situation with helping spy on on China's people. So the fact of the matter is, I don't want to even support that either. That's actually a turnoff. The fact that they're putting spyware on your stuff and Tencent is involved in this. That's another thing I don't want anything to do with. A company that is openly 1984 style of wanting to basically spy on people. Why would I want to buy from a launcher that intentionally installs spyware onto my computer? Again, that's just stupid. I know that people will say Steam is the same thing, but it's not even close. Not even they don't go through your DLL files and start looking through everything that's has nothing to do with your Epic Game Store or Steam information. It's literally going through stuff that they should not have the right to go through. But yeah, and they say that that's not true. But when they were asked about that, they kind of brushed it off and. But anyways, that's what I have to say about that. But back to the main point is, again, what is the reason to buy from Epic Game Stores versus Steam? There's literally nothing for the gamer to buy from it. There's nothing to offer other than the free game thing that, again, all it could be is a really bad game. Unless they're going to give out AAA games, they're going to give them out brand new day one kind of things, which I totally know that they're not going to do because the developers want to make their money. So unless there's a reason, there's just nothing to buy from it. So in the end, this does not look good for Epic Games Launcher. In an oversaturated market, they have literally nothing else to offer than that, other than their Fortnite, which is going to eventually die out. And unless they have any new games, they're just going to become the next Steam. Just the only difference is they give more money to the developers. That's it. That's the end of it. Unless they have some sort of way that they're going to offer, better discounts on prices, or they're going to give us better features that Steam can't even offer, or better reliability. And I've constantly heard of Epic Games constantly crashing, the launcher not functioning properly, and that's not a good start for it. So the fact of the matter is they can't start showing that they have something that's better than Steam, but without having to resort to exclusivity, there's not an incentive to buy from you guys. So the fact of the matter is they don't have a reason to that. They're just not going to be able to do it. Anyways, I'm going to wrap it up here. I've already done 30 minutes of ranting on and probably repeated myself a few times, but I just want to reiterate those things. Anyways, post your comments down below what your thoughts are, your opinions, and the whole situation that's going on with this whole Steam versus Epic Games store. And, give it a like, give it a dislike. I don't care either way. It's all cool with me. If you want to, get more updates on either off-topic stuff or Halo stuff, which I'll, do next week, then just hit the subscribe button and then hit notifications, and you'll get an update the next time I post a video. I usually try to upload every Friday or Saturday. Try to keep it on a weekly basis because YouTube algorithms are just absolutely atrocious. But anyways, I'm gonna call the end of the video here. So you all take care. Peace.
The bass.